Now, reporting on internal control over financial reporting, here's our report. Here are the items we're going to include there. Now, some of these are going to be more important than others. You'll probably see that as we see. Now, title, addressee, demographic information such as that, not really too important to memorize. You'll know that it's there. Now, on the specific opinion, the first section should include the auditor's opinion, quite clear and prominent. It's the culmination of everything. It's what we do. It's what we're here to do is provide that opinion. And we should have the heading opinion on internal control of financial reporting. Super creative, I know. And we should also do the following. We need to identify the entity, the client, the audit client, state that the ICFR has been audited, identify the as of date, so as of 12/31, identify the criteria against which the internal controls were measured, include the auditor's opinion on whether the entity maintained in all material respects effective ICFR as of the date based on the criteria. Criteria, we say, okay, they've maintained it against this. We've got proper controls, and did we actually do this? Yes, we did, or no, we didn't. We also have to give the basis for opinion, like we see in a normal audit. We gave the opinion, and let's elaborate on that essentially. We have to state that the audit was conducted with gas and identifies the USA as the country of origin. Refer to the section of the auditor's report that describes the auditor's responsibilities. All standard items that you find in the authoritative literature includes a statement that the auditor is required to be independent and to meet the auditor's other ethical responsibilities in accordance with relevant ethical requirements, and states whether the auditor believes that the audit evidence that the auditor obtained is sufficient and appropriate to provide a basis for the auditor's opinion. A nice little check there saying, yes, we did provide a clean opinion, and we also want to state again that the evidence we received is sufficient and appropriate because we need sufficient and appropriate evidence, and we have a whole lesson on that as well. Now, the responsibilities of management rep letter, we do that in any engagement, and here we're going to list out what are the responsibilities of management. Well, management's responsible for designing, implementing, and maintaining effective internal controls over financial reporting. That is always their job, and it is not your job as the auditor. We're going to state that management's responsible for its assessment and effectiveness, but we're really just giving all the responsibility back to management here, and include a reference to management's report on internal control over financial reporting. We are just verifying what management's report was. Management has their own report, says, oh yeah, we're good, but we're missing a few components here. Maybe our AR process is not as solid as it could be, and that's what's going to be included here. We are going to attest to that. The auditor's responsibility. What was the auditor responsible for here in this engagement? Well, the auditor needs to state that the objectives of the auditor are to obtain reasonable assurance, never absolute assurance, remember, it's always reasonable, but whether effective ICFR was maintained in all material respects. And also, we need to issue an opinion. Issue a report, issue that opinion. We need to state that reasonable assurance is a high level of assurance, but it is not absolute, and it's not a guarantee. We're covering our butts here, right? Not a guarantee that it detected everything, basically saying a material weakness could still exist. It's likely that it doesn't if we're a good auditor, if we have enough resources, but we're, again, just covering our butts. We don't want to not detect something and then get in trouble for it. That would not be ideal. Describe the audit by stating that in performing an audit of ICFR, the responsibilities were to exercise professional judgment. We're describing what we did. We're performing a service, whether it's to the client that hired us, or the general public, or the readers, or the users of whatever we've done. We want to tell them, what did we do? We obtained an understanding of ICFR, assessed the risks, tested and evaluated the design and operating effectiveness. So these are all things we saw in terms of the planning process, in terms of the execution process of the integrated audit. We also want to talk about the limitations of internal control over financial reporting. Now, there's going to be inherent limitations, segregation of duties. If you've got collusion, management override, there will always be limitations. Nothing's perfect. Otherwise, we wouldn't have auditors. We wouldn't have internal audit departments. We wouldn't have any controls like this. If things were perfect, we wouldn't need any of that. We are going to include this section that says definition and inherent limitations of ICFR. We are going to include a definition of this. We are going to include a paragraph stating that because of inherent limitations, this control environment may not prevent, detect, or correct misstatements and projections because there may be issues, right? Again, we're just covering our butts and making sure that we are not 100% responsible for everything. We did our absolute best. Hopefully our best was enough, and that's all we can do. We're going to include our signature, the address, and date, other demographic information. Now, the auditor can issue a separate report on internal control over financial reporting. We can issue the audit opinion of the normal financial statement audit in conjunction, so we have 1 and 2 on the same report, or we could also do them separately. Have report 1, which is our normal audit, and then we have report 2, which is internal control over financial reporting. That's an option we have as an auditor. If we choose to do option 2, which is keep them separate, we are going to issue the separate report. We should add the following paragraph. We have audited in accordance with auditing standards generally accepted, that would be GAAS, the internal control over financial reporting. And then we also say that our report dated should be the same as the date of the report of the financial statements. Now we see here, we should also add the following paragraph that says we have also audited the financial statements, right? That is what we're saying. So if we do it separately, because if we have them in the same report, the reader is going to see, okay, we have 1, which is the normal audit. We have 2, which is the integrated audit. If we do them separately, the point of these paragraphs is to call out that, yes, we did do this because maybe they only pick up page 1 or maybe they only pick up page 2. These paragraphs here are essentially just both calling out that we did both of these things. And we're going to include those paragraphs on both pieces of paper, which is important to know what was done, and the users of the financial statements can understand what we as an auditor did for the benefit of the financial statements and the company. Any report modifications that may happen, meaning it's not a clean opinion, it's not unmodified, it's not unqualified. Why would we modify any of the opinions? Well, if 1 or more material weaknesses exist, we can't have material weaknesses in there that we have identified. If elements of the management's report are incomplete or improperly presented, scope limitations, classic one there as well, we would withdraw from the engagement or disclaim an opinion. The auditor decides to refer to the report of a component auditor as the basis for the auditor's own opinion, and there's other information contained in management's report that we have not attested to. We can't have excess information that we didn't get our hands on and test.
Hey there! Are you ready to not only pass your CPA exams, but truly understand and enjoy the material while studying? I know it seems impossible, right? Especially to enjoy the material? We'll do it together. Tap into the power of CPA.examprep.ai, where we've got personalized quizzes, multiple choice questions, memorization guides, flashcards, simulations, all tailored to your learning. Our adaptive study planning puts you on the fastest path to success and lifts you back up if you fall behind. Avoid wasting your precious time and money attempting an exam with a low chance of passing, because who wants that? We want to get you through this process as quick as possible. Our exam readiness prediction lets you walk in with confidence, knowing that you're prepared for success on exam day. Thankfully, there's no payment method needed to get started, so why don't you come join us? Visit cpa.examprep.ai and let's achieve your exam success together.